Hello friends, I hope you're all doing amazing. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Shaquille, and today we're diving into one of the most crucial turning points in American history, the Missouri Compromise of 1820. This was the moment when the young United States faced a burning question. Should slavery expand, or should freedom prevail? Let's explore this defining chapter that set the stage for conflict and change. The background of slavery in America. Slavery is one of the darkest chapters in America's history. It didn't just shape the economy, it shaped society itself. When European settlers first arrived in the New World, they started large-scale farming. Tobacco, cotton, sugar. That required enormous amounts of labor. At first, Native Americans were enslaved, but disease and conflict devastated their population. Soon, millions of Africans were forcibly brought across the Atlantic, chained in ships, where countless lives were lost to hunger, thirst, and disease. Their labor fueled the Southern economy. Cotton and tobacco trade made America wealthy, but it was built on the blood, sweat, and broken families of enslaved people. They had no rights, no freedom, treated only as property. Meanwhile, the northern states were moving toward industry and modern labor. They saw slavery as a crime against humanity, while Southern plantation owners insisted it was essential to survival. This clash of ideals would eventually erupt into America's greatest political and moral battle. Missouri's statehood request. By 1820, America was rapidly expanding westward. New territories were turning into states, and one of them, Missouri, submitted a request for statehood. Sounds simple, right? But there was a catch. Missouri wanted to join as a slave state. This request shook American politics to its core. Northern states opposed it, fearing that slavery would spread further. Southerners, however, argued that their economy couldn't survive without it. And here's the tricky part. At that time, the Senate was evenly balanced, equal numbers of free states and slave states. If Missouri entered as a slave state, the South would gain more power in Congress. For the North, that was unacceptable. So Missouri's request wasn't just about statehood, it was about the future of the entire nation. North versus South, the divide. The United States was splitting into two very different worlds. In the North, industry was booming. Factories, railroads, growing cities. They didn't rely on slavery, and many saw it as morally wrong and un-American. In the South, the story was different. Plantations thrived on cotton and tobacco, and enslaved labor was their backbone. Southern leaders insisted slavery was natural and vital for their survival. This divide reached Congress. Northern representatives demanded limits on slavery in new states, while Southerners fought to preserve it. Power in the Senate was on the line, and neither side was willing to back down. The Missouri Compromise of 1820. To prevent the nation from tearing apart, Congress struck a deal. The Missouri Compromise. Here's what it decided. Missouri would enter as a slave state. Maine would enter as a free state, keeping the Senate balanced. A boundary line, known as the 36-30T line, was drawn across the Louisiana Territory. Any new state north of that line would be free. Any new state south of it could allow slavery. This was a temporary peace. Both sides gave up something. Both sides gained something. But the deeper issue, slavery itself, remained unresolved. The 36-30 line. This line was more than just a spot on a map. It was a symbol. To the north, it meant slavery had limits. To the south, it felt like a bitter compromise. In reality, it divided the nation, not just geographically, but morally, politically, and culturally. For nearly 3 decades, this line held the fragile balance. But as America kept expanding west, the question of slavery returned again and again, until the country could no longer avoid the storm ahead. Impact and legacy. The Missouri Compromise prevented a national crisis in 1820, but it didn't solve the problem. It only delayed it. Every new state brought the same question: slave or free? The tension grew stronger. Suspicion and resentment grew deeper. In the end, this compromise planted the seeds of the Civil War. It showed that slavery wasn't just an economic issue. It was about America's identity, its values, and its future. And that's the story of the Missouri Compromise of 1820, a deal that temporarily balanced power but left behind a legacy of division. More than just a political agreement, it was a glimpse into the struggles that would explode into the Civil War. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more eye-opening journeys into history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.